like to call the May 30th, 2024 meeting, Langston County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Smith, would you find prayer for us?
Oh, absolutely. Heavenly Father, we come into your presence tonight, and Lord, this board has to make tough decisions. And with those decisions come sacrifices, but there is no greater sacrifice than the one that you made for us when you sent your son Jesus to die. Be with the board tonight, be with the leaders, be with the citizens, and be with those who are not here. All of these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. May be seated. We have, all right, thanks. All right. We're getting ready to open the meeting up to the floor up to the public input session. All right, you have 3 minutes to speak. I always say, please just go ahead and get right to the point. Say what you got on your mind, on your chest. All right, and you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I will hold this sign up, so letting you know you have 1 minute to remaining. Okay, so at this particular time, Pixie Curry, Miss Curry. Pixie E. All right, that's right.
Good evening to this storied assembly. I am Pixie E. Curry, Chair of the Save Brookville History Committee. I wish to express gratitude on behalf of the other committee members to the county administration for their support with granting permission to have a May Day at 36 Primary School Circle, forever known as Brookville, on May 17th, 2025. I especially want to thank Supervisor Bill Lee, Chair Ernest Palin, Assistant Administrator John Bateman, and Administrator Don Gill for meeting with the committee on April 22nd, where goals discussed became aligned. We are in the planning process for the May Day event that hopefully will include a historical marker dedication. The process for the publication and promotion of the committee goals are nearly completed, and the results will be released soon. Public support is necessary for the success of this event. Interested parties can contact me or other committee members at savebrookvillehistory@gmail.com and view announcements on the page that gratefully Lancaster, Virginia Historical Society's Karen Hart created for the committee. The future looks bright. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you all for being on this journey with us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next one is, and you have to excuse me, Jonathan. Okay.
Truitt.
Okay. All right.
Thanks. My name is Jonathan Truitt. I'm a full-time resident of Lancaster County, and I'm here on behalf of the landowners of my neighborhood to discuss unpaved roads. Our unpaved road dates back 275 years. We are applying for paving of our road under the Rural Rustic Road program. The Rural Rustic Road program in Virginia was founded or established in July 1st, 2003. It was a practical approach to paving unpaved, low-volume roads. It notes that roads with less than 400 vehicles per day are permitted to be less than the minimum standards, which means it doesn't have to be 18 feet wide and doesn't have to have 2-foot shoulders. We're located off of River Road, which is Route 354. You turn left right before the Caratoman Baptist Church. You follow that, which is Route 604, Ottoman Ferry Road, for a half mile, and then you turn left on State Route 731, which is Lowry Creek Road. And that's the main road for our entries, of which there are 3 branches off of that, which is in page 2 of the document provided. For our road to qualify, there are 6 check marks that must be hit. It has to be unpaved and in the secondary system. Must be less than 1,500 vehicles per day. I can tell you we are way less than the first tranche, which is 400. It must be predominantly local traffic, and it must be expected at minimal growth. We have no egress, we have no commercial business, we are all residential. The two features that are needed are dependent on this board. One, it must be a priority in the locality of secondary 6-year plan to be funded by the 6-year plan. If it is not funded by resources from the 6-year plan, it doesn't have to be, that doesn't require it to be that. You either have to fund it through the 6-year plan or differently. And lastly, for it to go forward, the Board of Supervisors, by resolution, must designate the road as a rustic rural road, meeting the program. I have heard back from our landowners in our neighborhood, and they're all supportive of the application. And we do request, though, if we go forward, that we have a speed limit sign of 20 miles per hour and a no outlet sign in the beginning, as there is no egress. So I want to thank you for your time and allowing me to present our request to pave our road under the rustic rural road program. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir, Mr. Howard.
This is probably a Don Gill thing, but as important as this meeting is with about the spending and taxes it's going to take to cover it up, tonight there was not a word mentioned about this meeting in the local paper on the agenda.
The Code of Virginia requires that it has to be advertised for 2 weeks, at least 7 days prior to the
Right.
meeting, and it was.
Yeah, because I went
Yeah.
back in the recycle bin and pulled
Yeah.
out the paper to find out
Yeah.
was I right on tonight being the meeting.
Yeah.
But I have seen them the night of.
Well, we're trying to save money and not have an unneeded advertisement. I mean, those advertisements are expensive. We do what the Code of Virginia says. So Code of Virginia says it has to be advertised for 2 successive weeks, at least 7 days prior to the meeting, and that's what we do.
The first advertisement or the second one has to be.
The
set.
last advertisement has to be at least 7 days prior to the meeting.
All right, well, then I didn't know it. I had to go back and pull the paper out
Yeah.
and make sure.
And that's for ordinances, section 15-2-2204, if you want to check it out.
No, I don't check it. I take your word. I take your word for it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Still don't have internet.
Is anybody online who want to speak? No, sir. All right. Anybody else in the audience? All right. Public input session is now closed. All right, VDOT?
How's everybody this evening? I think David sent y'all a report. Just a few things to follow up on. We had a slope on Route 3. We got that taken care of, and then another one over here on 600. So that's all straight. From what I heard this afternoon, the secondary grass mowing has been complete. They still have to do the weed eating and, just make sure, we'll go make sure everything is taken care of. And the primary mowing is going to start on Monday, as far as I know. And tomorrow, we're going to start the first phase of Carter's Creek. They're going to get that pipe and put that into the DI and do a little bit of ditching. And then the concrete contractor's coming first of the week to do his part. And then I guess at a later date, we'll, get the pavement back down, so it won't be quite as much of a transition coming in there. And to speak to the gentleman, as far as I know, the paved part of Lowry Creek is all that we maintain. So any of the dirt roads is private property. And if they want it into the system, they'll have to bring it up to VDOT specs. And I don't think we can post a speed limit less than 25.
And why is it at 20? Does 20 make it a golf cart community? Is that why?
25 would be a golf cart
25,
community.
okay.
But I don't think, and don't quote me on that, but I don't think we post anything less than 25.
Any questions,
What
comments?
I'm hearing, then, this road right now is not a state road.
The first tenth of a mile of the road is currently in the state system. It's Route 731. And then after you go that tenth of a mile, there's a bank of mailboxes and an end-of-state maintenance sign. I've discussed this issue with David Beal. He's on vacation this week, and David had agreed to come down and meet on site. District 1 Supervisor Craig Easy and I took a look at it today, so we are going to ask David to come down, take a look at it, and get with Mr. Truitt and, you know, let it come from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So,
And like I said, as far as I know, you know, we have been down numerous times and put stone in right into state maintenance and all where they have holes and stuff, but.
Mike, there's a blind spot in District 5, and it's at the intersection of, I call it the Christchurch intersection. It's on Route 222 and then Christchurch and Blackstone Road. So when you're coming out of the Christchurch section and you get there and you're making a left to head down into the Weems, there's growth and you just can't see. And you really have to inch out into the road, and sometimes they're right up on, cars are right up on you before you can see them.
So you're talking about if you're heading in to Weems, it would be on the left-hand side
Yes.
of 222? 'Cause
Yeah,
I know
right.
on the right-hand side, we're constantly always cutting that back because
And I
that's
just,
bad
for
too.
some reason, I've just had many trips that way, and it's tough. It's tough to see.
Okay, yeah, I'll make a note of it, and Boomax has been broke down, but we do have that back, so we're trying to, you know, get back on that as much as we can also.
I know you will.
So,
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, y'all have a good evening.
Presentations. Greenville Creek, Mr. Conrad.
Mr. Chairman, I don't see Mr. Conrad in the audience, but I will get Assistant County Administrator John Bateman to speak a little bit on Greenville Creek. You know from time to time that creek, the mouth of it has to be dredged to keep the channel open. We do have a boat ramp there on the Greenville Creek. And John's been involved with the PDC and an initiative to help pay for future dredging. So I'll let John chime in right here on this.
All right, I'll give you guys a brief history. The Northern Neck PDC and the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority undertook a planning effort in 2010 with congressional funding, dubbed the Northern Neck Shallow Draft Navigation and Sediment Management Plan. That plan studied the navigational needs of 13 federally designated shallow draft channels in the Northern Neck and identified sites for the beneficial reuse of dredge spoil. The Virginia General Assembly established the Virginia Waterway Maintenance Fund in 2018 under the Virginia Port Authority. In 2021, the Northern Neck Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority procured funding from the Waterway Maintenance Fund to develop an implementation plan to systematically study and prioritize dredging needs in the Northern Neck, dubbed the Northern Neck Regional Shallow Draft Channel Dredging Plan. The initial phase of that plan examined a total of 142 water bodies, federal and non-federal, 35 in Lancaster County. The initial phase used remote sensing and other data collection to develop a method for determining which water bodies needed dredging. And from that analysis, 19 water bodies emerged as potentially needing dredged in the Northern Neck based on physical parameters, residential and economic usage. The feasibility phase of that plan further examined those 19 water bodies, and more detailed site data were collected to provide data to the localities for consideration and prioritization. In Lancaster County, 4 water bodies were studied: Beach Creek, Windmill Point Creek, Greenville Creek, and Tabbs Creek. Overall, potential dredge volumes are relatively low in Beach Creek, and Windmill Point Creek needed the most dredging. However, their residential and economic usage were in the lower percentile. Tabbs Creek needs minor dredging, and Greenville Creek is a federal channel that has been dredged in the past, with a net overall volume needing dredging at low at this time, though their residential and economic usage were in the upper percentile. So this year, the Northern Neck PDC and Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority applied for additional funding from the Waterway Maintenance Fund to conduct the planning phase for the priority water body in the Northern Neck, each Northern Neck county. And in Lancaster County, we chose Greenville Creek. The planning phase will see each water body studied in detail to include actual dredging volumes, character of the dredge material, suitable beneficial reuse and disposal siting, and the need for additional structures to ensure future navigability. It'll also see each project through to the permitting process all the way to shovel readiness. It is the intention of the Chesapeake Bay Public Access Authority to follow the planning phase with an implementation phase and to submit each project for funding through the Waterway Maintenance Fund for implementation.
Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you, Mr. Baker. All right. School construction, Mr. Pittman.
I thought you'd be at the baseball game.
I wish I was.
All right, Glenn, you gonna put it up there?
Yes, we got a few good slides to show you tonight, some progress over at the school, starting into it, Don. This is a 2-week look ahead. Branch builds gives us every 2 weeks. You can see on there we're starting to ramp up with the activities that are happening there. Most of the work that's going on over at the site right now is still land related, moving dirt. We are getting into some concrete work, which we'll be able to show you later, and the geothermal wells will start to go in next week, so you'll see some activity out in the field as far as that goes. These are the trailers that have been moved in. This is a good sign for the project, as you know they need more space for the daily meetings and for the supervisors to get to. So things are starting to ramp up on the site. Get to the next one. Again, this is a site plan I showed you last month. Just gives you a quick overlay of where they are. It's a 4-phase site plan for the school. So we're kind of halfway through it, but this is a longer phase as far as the length of the project goes. Some details on this, you can start to see where the parking lot's taking shape, and the large area in the center is where the school will go. Most of the activity that's happening right now is on that south side of that wall that you can kind of make out on it, a real sort of heavy line through the center of the page. You can go to the next. Right now, that's our main construction entrance. It's located up close to the ballpark. And that's what we've been able to use basically for the past 6 months as we've been going through the site work that's taking place. Getting ready to shift, if you go to the next slide. Now, we are going to open up this entrance from Old St. John. It won't be the primary entrance, but you'll see the workers develop that entrance. If we get into some bad weather, you know, if it's needed, they'll go to that entrance to use it, but they're going to primarily focus on the entrance that they've been using. You can go to the next slide. I always like to get a Ms. Olivia Hall shot. I call this my Olivia shot. And gives it, this was taken last week, gives a good layout of where we are with the project, what's happening. Short it shows, just like the site plan showed, in that orientation, the ballpark up in the far right of the corner. Lots of green around the pond, so we're happy to see that, and hopefully Olivia is too. You get to the next slide, Donna. Again, last month I talked about the stormwater pipe that was coming off Dreamfields, getting that connected. That's a huge piece of this. When we do get heavy rains, there is a lot of stormwater that makes its way onto the site. So having that hooked up is going to speed things along as far as the project goes. Get to the next slide. Yeah. And that's that last piece of pipe that was actually going in yesterday. So that's a big milestone as far as site work for the school site. Again, this is a isometric view of the school that we laid out for you last month. This is what they call ground zero. I liken it to a walkout basement. what we'll be working on primarily is footings for that back wall on that, and I believe that's highlighted on the next click, Don. Yeah, that wall's what's going to be primarily be worked on over the next few months, and right now we're pouring footers for that, and I believe that shows on the next few slides. It might, yeah, put that arrow up. That's the corner that you'll see the work taking place in. So concrete truck showed up yesterday. I know Mr. Bella's asked me a few times about this, so they showed up.
I saw it out there yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they've started the concrete.
Yeah, and so it's a good sign to see. The weather's been very cooperative past few weeks, and it looks like we're in for another few good weeks of weather, so that's going to help a lot. That's that actual corner of the building being poured. You can see all the rebar and safety measures taking place. Get to the next slide. Got this shot. This is just a quick shot of the bottom of the elevator shaft in the school. It kind of gives you a reference of the center of the school. That's located more in the center of the school. And by the end of next week, I would imagine that they're pretty well got this all filled up with concrete. This is going relatively quick. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're getting ready to go into a public hearing. And the first one we don't want to talk about is the proposed amendments to the Lancaster County Land Development Code. Ms. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have for you this evening a public hearing to consider the recommendation of proposed revisions to Part 1 Zoning Ordinance Article 25, siting of wireless telecommunication facilities, to comply with updates to the applicable Virginia State Code sections of the Code of Virginia. This issue was brought to the attention of county staff through the special exception application process. The proposed revisions to this code come to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation of approval 6-0 by the Lancaster County Planning Commission. In 2018, the General Assembly of Virginia amended and reenacted sections numbered 15.2-2316 4.1, 15.2-2316 4.2, and 4.3 of the Code of Virginia. In order to achieve compliance with these amendments to the state code, county staff recommend revising this ordinance. A copy of the proposed draft revisions were included in your packet, and at the time of the drafting of this memo, there were no written objections related to this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Hall before I open it up to the floor for public comments? All right, no questions. Again, you have 3 minutes. Get right to the point. Say what you have to say. And at the end of 2 minutes, I will hold this up, letting you know you have 1 minute left. Okay. None? Okay, so the floor is now open for public comment. Any comments?
Which this point, I can't hear you.
Can't hear me? All right.
Sir, this was for public hearing number 1, amendments to zoning ordinance Article 25, siting of wireless telecommunications facilities.
Anyone online? No, sir. All right. Floor is now closed. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the ordinance.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimous vote. Mr. Lee, you voted aye? Aye. Okay. All right, that's a unanimous vote. Motion passed. All right, proposed amendments to the Lancaster County Code of Ordinance, Article 2, Division 1, Real Estate Tax Relief for elderly and disabled persons. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, during your 6 FY25 budget work sessions, the board expressed a desire to increase the tax relief limits available under the code that you just mentioned. The highlighted changes in this elderly and disabled person tax relief ordinance amounts to, under section 62-35, it increases the income limit from $20,000 to $28,200. That is the culmination of yearly increases due to basically the cost of living index, the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index over the past several years. The table under 62-36 shows that less than $19,700, it's 100% exempt from tax. The range from $19,701 to $22,400, it's 80% exempt from tax. $22,401 to $25,500, it's 60% exempt from tax. $25,501 to that $28,200 limit is 40% exempt from tax, and anything above that $28,201, it's no exemption from your tax. The annual exemption limit is proposed to be increased from $400 to $600. That's a 50% increase. And just kind of a housekeeping note there under the, where it talks about the Consumer Price Index, made a notation to change where it says the Board of Supervisors will use the Consumer Price Index. I've changed it to the Commissioner of Revenue will use the Consumer Price Index, since the Commissioner is the designated administrator for this ordinance under Section 62-33. Commissioner Savoy is here tonight. If you have any questions, any additional questions, otherwise I would ask that you adopt this ordinance as amended.
All right, gentlemen, before opening it up to the floor for comments, do you have any questions or comments of the county administrator?
How many people currently are enrolled in the program?
I'm going to have to defer that to Commissioner Savoy if she
Yeah.
can come up and maybe address that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
At this point, I really don't have a number for you. I have several that did not validate this year, but again, I have several new persons that came on, so I don't have a total for you at this point in time.
Okay, all right, anything?
How about an idea?
Well, okay. I believe last year it was maybe 60, maybe.
60, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because when I
And
was
that's
thinking
a-
about this, I went in and sat down and talked to her, and she at that particular time had her records, and she told me what she had, what was on the front. And it helps quite a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
All right, thank you.
Let me ask this. Do you think we don't have more because lack of knowledge, lack of knowing, the public really don't know about this tax relief?
I don't think so, because it is on the tax bill. I do run it in the Rappahannock Record. It's on the website. So and I actually send the ones that is already enrolled a notice every year.
Okay.
So I think I'm
So
doing
communication-
my due diligence to get the word out.
Okay.
Is there a cutoff period to when your person can submit it, or can they just submit it with their tax bill?
No, the time frame is February 1st through April the 30th of every year.
Any additional questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. The floor is now open for, do we have anybody signed up for that?
Nobody on that.
Okay. The floor is now open for comments on this. All right, anybody online? All right. Now closed for public comments?
I move that the ordinance for tax relief be adopted, the changes be adopted therein.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, unanimously passed. All right, so. All right, here's the doozy. Proposed 2024 tax levy ordinance. Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, the Board of Supervisors must fix a tax rate for the calendar year no later than the date on which the next fiscal year begins, which is July the 1st. That's required by Code of Virginia, Section 15.2.2503. The Board of Supervisors may adopt a tax rate lower than what you've advertised, but you cannot adopt a rate higher than what was advertised. Just for clarification for the public, Mr. Kaiser brought up ads in the paper. The school budget ad was advertised one time as required by law. on March 21st. That school board budget was adopted on April the 11th, after waiting the mandatory 7-day period. The overall budget was advertised on April 18th, and the public hearing was held on April 25th. And that budget is being considered for adoption tonight after the required 7-day waiting period by the Code of Virginia. Lancaster County sets its tax rate by ordinance, so that's why we have to advertise the ordinance twice. And the tax rate ordinance was advertised on May 16th and May 23rd, according to Section 15.2.2204, like I referenced earlier. There's also an additional ad that has to be run whenever you have a general reassessment. That ad is required by Section 58.13321 of the Code of Virginia, and that ad ran on May 16th. It has to be in the general section of the paper and not in the classified ad section. Has to be at least 1/8 of a page, and it has to be at least 18 font. So Code of Virginia requires all of these things. All of them were done by code. So I don't know, I think the world of Mr. Kaiser, but I don't know how else to get the word out there. We follow state code in our advertisements. So as we've mentioned in prior meetings, the board held 6 prior budget work sessions. We did go under a general reassessment this year. The general reassessment showed an overall, it was a 41% increase initially from the reassessor's work. The Board of Equalization has held 9 meetings to date. They also have 1 meeting scheduled in June. They are seated through the end of December, so there could be additional meetings. As they lower values, then the overall increase goes down. So the overall increase now, based on the orders that the Board of Equalization has issued, the overall increase has gone from 41% to 38.96%. The equalized rate, based on those numbers from the orders of the Board of Equalization, is at 45 cents. The Board of Supervisors authorized me to advertise 55 cents. So that's what's being considered tonight, is the tax rate ordinance. No other rates have been changed in the ordinance, just the real estate tax rate. Currently, the real estate tax rate is 63 cents. As I mentioned, the equalized rate's 45. The board authorized advertising 55. So that's what's being considered tonight. As I mentioned, the board can adopt a rate lower than advertised, but not higher than advertised. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, gentlemen? Comments? All right. At this particular time, we're getting ready to open up the floor for comments concerning taxes. Now, this is not the public hearing on the budget. We've already had that. This is on taxes, real estate taxes. All right, again, let me reemphasize, you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I will hold this sign up, letting you know you have 1 minute. Stick to the point. Say what you got to say. Get to the point quick, and leave some space for somebody else. All right. The floor is now open. Mr. Bruce Julian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's my pleasure to be here again. I'm Bruce Julian, living in Bill Smith's District 5. Before I start, Mr. Palin, I want to make it clear, or at least request, that when it comes to messing with cable TV, I don't want Mr. Palin or Mr. Giese, either one, hooking up cable. As I saw your pictures in the Rappahannock Record today, I'm not sure we have qualified technicians doing that.
We had instructions.
All right.
That was ceremonial.
No safety equipment was obvious.
They stayed at a Holiday Inn the night.
A few years ago, one supervisor on this board got a bit agitated one evening and said, "When are we going to quit talking, and when are we going to get started doing something?" All plans, any plans, require commitment of resources if we are truly dedicated to implementation. Resources include appropriation of funds and people committed to complete the job. Our comprehensive plan and your strategic plan helps guide critical decisions of funding and staff priorities. Planning and talking is easy. Implementing is much more difficult and occasionally unpopular, as you know. I am thankful that each member on this board and the county staff have a vision for the future and are dedicated to the future to ensure a better life for all. I strongly support the proposed advertised tax rates and, of course, the proposed budget for the next fiscal year that you will consider in your consideration docket. I am thankful that our children in the public schools will have facilities providing a clean, healthy environment and an atmosphere to encourage and accelerate learning, and that teachers, both current and new, will have facilities to help our children learn. In looking to the future, you have recognized the need to support and fund several critical capital improvement projects. That will ensure a bright future for both current citizens, future citizens, and visitors. Outcomes, improved lives are better than talk. Thank you for your public service to ensure this county continues to be a better place for all, both now and well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Bott?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman
Good evening.
and members of the board. Administrator Gill, I'm George Bott, District 1. Don's going to help me with this presentation tonight.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Okay, next slide, please. This slide just says that the consumer price index, based from the Bureau of Economic Analysis and Morningstar, is 3.5% this year. That's for urban areas. They don't publish separately for rural areas. Excuse me. Urban areas generally have higher costs, housing and fuel, for example, higher than what we have down here. So that's the rate that is the rate of inflation for this year. Next slide, please.
Oh, wait a minute.
Your budget proposes a 7% pay raise, which is twice the CPI. This is on top of paying employees' retirement contribution of 5% and the increase in employment health costs of a little over 7%. In my opinion, the pay raise is too generous. Next slide, please. I don't think I want to make very much friends in the county staff. This was your advertised budget. Go to the next slide, please, Don. Nope. There was one in between, I believe.
This one?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in a little bit? Or there's a little plus on the bottom right-hand side.
I don't see it, George.
All right, I just want to point out then that the fund balance end of year is, if I can read it, $6,000,006, which is 12.32% of expenditures. Now the next slide.
All right. Oh, wait a minute. You got me to push a button that I wasn't familiar with, so hang on a second.
Okay, that should be fund balance.
Mr. Bott, you're going to probably have to speed it up, otherwise you're going to run out of time.
Well, I mean, part of this is my problem,
Yeah.
so.
I'm calculating that.
Well, Don, you're going to run out of time.
Hang on one second.
Well, until he finds the slide, I'll go on. The fund balance end-of-year policy. A policy, by definition, is a course or principle of action adopted by or proposed by a government. The Board of Supervisors unanimously approved a proposal by Dr. Westbrook and District 1 Supervisor Jack Larson, quote, that the fund balance end of year would be 7% of total expenditures. Next slide, please. I think we're there. The proposed balance end of year is $5,006,000, abbreviated, or 12.3% of proposed expenditures. Following the board policy issue on this matter, the end of year balance should be 3.2 million rounded. And difference amount of
Because
policy
of
is,
that, all right, because of what was going on there, I'm gonna give you an extra minute, but get right to your tax rate. Get right to it. We understand all this you're presenting. Get right to what you gotta
okay,
say
the
about
difference
taxes.
is 2,000,004 recommendations. I recommend reduce the fund balance end of year to the 7% policy of expenditures in terms of the proposed tax increase of 55 cents per hundred. And there's the math. That equals 6 cents. That's the value of the reduction. So I propose we reduce the proposed tax increase by 5 cents, from 55 cents to 50 cents. Last slide. These excess funds belong to the taxpayers. Quote, "No one knows how better to spend these funds than the taxpayer." That was Butch Jenkins in 2011, when this board reduced real estate property taxes by 2 cents. Return 5 cents of the assessed value and make the proposed property tax 50 cents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bott.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. I'm sorry I got lost.
That's all right. It's okay.
Okay. Mr. Smart?
Well, it's a real pleasure to be up on this side of the speaker. I've been over there more than, but, so all of the property valuation assessments have been done, and you're now deciding what the tax levy will be. And I'd just like to make a few comments. Even for a county, just one county in the United States, this is a very difficult job to get the roads in shape and to educate the children and all that kind of stuff. So I really respect what you all are doing. But there is anxiety among some people on fixed incomes, and I was very happy to see the real estate tax relief for elderly and disabled persons passed. The new school, as you remember, I fought the $110 million school. And when this proposal came along recently with $65 million, which has gone up a little bit since then, but that's expected, okay? I like to see the track and the sports facilities there. And an auditorium on the school will be nice, because we've gone without one in the existing high school for so long. But I will say that new school buildings do not educate children. It's the teachers that educate the children. And while we have pretty well fixed the budget for this year, we need to give thought to making sure that the teachers are properly paid as inflation increases. And so I call to ask for that. We must give serious thought to meeting the essential needs, but we have to realize that the tax dollar is not free. This is a call for conservatism, fiscal conservatism. Taxpayers pay for those dollars year after year as their incomes may be fixed, and as inflation buys them less and less every year. It's a squeeze. So I simply come here tonight to ask that every effort be made. When you come to the board, bring your fiscal conservative hat and think about the value of every taxpayer dollar. I'm happy to see that it's going to the new school. I pushed for renovation of the existing school, but I think this is going to be good. In fact, I even bought a home down at Hills Quarter, within walking distance of the new school. So that when I have my next stroke, I can get to the hospital faster. So that's all. The only reason I came today is ask you, within your official capacity, I ask you to wear the hat of fiscal conservative. Bring it into the meeting every day and think about the fact that the taxpayer dollar is not free. It costs somebody something. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes. Smart, Mr. Smart. All right. Cecil Thurman. Cecil?
Cecil Thurman?
Must have left. Is that right? Yeah. Mr. Kaiser? Howard Kaiser?
Guys, I've been up here enough, and you guys know that I was against this whole thing of building another $100 million school when we could have done it for a fraction of the price down the street here. The assessment was done. You nailed me, along with a lot of other people. The assessment went, you said total assessment down, went over from $2 billion to over $3 billion, and that's a lot of increase there for y'all to dip in. I would love to see you guys, now that you've been spending money like water for the last couple of years. It's been big time. Everything, every time I pick up that paper, I'd close one eye and try to look at it slow to see how much you spent this week. But if you could go now, I'm sure your mind's already made up and you got to have this hearing because the code says so. But I've never seen anybody change their mind. But you might be able to be the first one to do it. See if you can't cut a couple pennies off it. It's got to be waste in there. It's got to be some waste in there. I know we wasted money getting to this point with that school. We wasted a lot getting to this point. And I hate to see it happen again. And it's going to get worse because they're going to hit you with change orders like you wouldn't believe before it's over. And you'll be dealing with those. But see what you can do by cutting this back. A lot of people, like Mr. Smart mentioned, fixed income people, well, I'm one of them. I never thought I would be there, but I'm here, and that's it. Got to stretch it so far. And the time you picked to do this was the most inflationary times we've seen in, I don't know, maybe forever, certainly 70 years, 50 years. And this is the time you picked to spend and go and do a generational debt of $100 million, which is what it'll be before it's over. See if you can't do something a little better than 55.
Thank you. All right, first name John, last name starts with A-R. Okay, pronounce that last name for me.
Arsenal.
Arsenal, all right.
Good evening. My name is John Arsenault. I'm a resident here of Lancaster County. Now, I have a question because there's a lot of confusing numbers here. Mr. Gill, did you say that the current value increase is not going to be 41%, it's going to be 38%?
It is.
That's the proposed?
It's 38.96% on the total taxable value of land and improvements in the county. The effective tax increase is 22.22%.
Okay. So I'm retired. It looks like I might be going back to work now. I'm 75 years old. Marine veteran, fought in 3 wars. And to pay all this, you know, in the last 3 years, we've seen a 20% cumulative increase in cost and expenses due to inflation. And you all just jumped another 22% on top of that, so that's 42% increase over what it cost me when I moved here and bought here 5 years ago. And I'm here to say that my income doesn't go up, but yours does, spending this kind of money. And again, from last meeting here, you're building a $74 million high school, and I agree with the gentleman over here, there's going to be change orders and cost overruns. But this county has done nothing to provide anything for the students
when they graduate from high school because they pack up and leave. There's no jobs here. There's nothing for them to do. Instead of spending all that money to build us on that school, is start looking for ways to bring business in here and give an opportunity for the children to have something to stay here, because right now they can't. And like I said last time, I'm just a hick from Alaska. I spent 30 years up there after I came back from Vietnam. And we have no state income tax, no state sales tax, and every man, woman, and child in that state gets a dividend this year of $2,000. They developed their resources and they found a way to bring business in to a place on the edge of the earth. They've done it. You all need to sit down and figure it out. You know how to get a hold of me. I can show you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Jim Thomas, I believe it's Thomas, yeah.
Good evening once again. It's nice to be with you all again. Last month, I approached you folks with what I call measured calm, respectful, having a conversation about being reasonable with your taxpayers. And that's when we were talking about a 29% increase in property tax for your residents. From what I'm hearing now, it's more than that.
No, it's 22.22 is the effective tax increase.
Okay, but last month it was 53 cents per hundred we were talking about, and now it's advertised as 55 cents per hundred.
No, the advertisement that was required by code when you have a general reassessment that was in the paper on May the 16th had these numbers that I just referenced.
But it's gone from 53 cents, which was the discussion point a month ago, to 55.
No, the board has always authorized me to advertise 55 cents.
But still, with the appraisal on top and not going down to the equalized rate and so forth, this is an incredible increase in a one-year period of time. And it's a burden on those of us that are retired in this county. I came here because I love this place. And what you're effectively doing is pricing us out of living here. Many of us are now going through an insurance reappraisal here because of some companies not renewing here. Just found out homeowners insurance is going to be 3 times what it has been over the last couple decades. You add this on top, and by the way, my reappraisal was 49%, not what your average number is, okay? So even at 22% increase, if that's your certain number, it's a big number, and it's not putting you in touch with your citizens of this county. When you set this rate, keep in mind you are accountable to the voters of this county, and there are elections coming up. And if we can't be reasonable with each other here in these meetings, then there's going to be some accountability, because each one of you are going to stand for re-election, and we may have to unite and look at what's been done to us with our tax rates and our tax bills. It's not the way we want to operate. Many of us that are here would rather sit back and let you do your job. It's a tough one, but the pocketbook votes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Jason Smart.
Thank you, Board. Jason Smart. I'm the son of Robert, and I'm not currently a resident of Lancaster County. I'm currently a resident of Northumberland County. However, I felt like I should come and speak because I look forward to hopefully being a resident of Lancaster County in the near future. But I'll tell you that, you know, this 70%, I'm going to say 70%, because that's what this is. It's the average of 39% for the reassessments times, so that's 1.39 times 1.22, 22% for the new tax rate. This 70% increase is, I would say, it's outrageous. And I mean, I'm not, I don't want to be pointing fingers, but please consider the taxpayer. I too, like the first speaker, I too, and I think all taxpayers here in this county and other counties nearby have a, as he put it, vision for the future. And that vision for the future, especially for my children's generation, my two daughters, I really worry that they will be living in a world where taxes continue to increase, and it looks like a grim vision, unfortunately. So please, as has been suggested previously, think long and hard about using the taxpayers' money conservatively, you know, and fiscally responsibly. I'm not saying that you're not, but I think the plan that was presented in the slides for a you know, a 50-cent tax rate, that would still be, when you account for the reassessments, that would still be an overall increase in revenue of about 54% for the county year over year. So 54%, that's a big increase also. Okay, yeah, I won't take that full minute, thank you. So I just wanted to point that out, and I thank you. Please reconsider that.
All right,
Mr. Smart, what is the proposed tax rate for Northumberland County this year?
The proposed tax rate, you know, I don't know. I know it's going up also.
It's 69%.
Yeah, so it's really high. We haven't had a reassessment like that, though, recently. So that's
Coming up.
It's coming up.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I will be speaking there as well, guaranteed. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
One other thing I wanted to point out. It's noteworthy that the timing or the placement of this on the agenda is right after the tax relief item, which, you know, I agree that's necessary. The reason it's necessary is because taxes continue to keep going up, and so I see a trend, and it's scary.
Amen.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Costello?
Charles Costello, District 2. I also am a Vietnam veteran. Retired after 21 years. And yes, our rate goes up some and all. I'd like to address one person who said about the money coming up in Alaska. Last I checked, we don't have oil reserves that we can tap. That's what's being tapped. That's where the money's coming from up in Alaska. Here, you don't. As far as military, the state of Virginia, 2 years ago, set up exempting the first $10,000 of military pay. The second year, $20,000. The third year now, $30,000. Next year, it'll be $40,000. It's not taxable on our state taxes. They may even be moving to go all military taxes out. My tax rate here, gentlemen, mine went up 50% on one lot and down on another and up on my house. The net result is 50 cents a day. That's the same rate. And each one of you need to take a look at what you're paying and what your net value change is and what are the things you're doing. Take a look at how many cars you're driving, what type of car you're driving. Mine are all old. I choose that. This is my choice. But I spend it where I want, and I want to pay for the education of our students in the future, and I want the best teachers we can hire. And even the state is proposing in their budget an increase for the teachers' pay of what, 3% is it, Jason? Or something like that? In their last budget?
3% for the next 2 years.
For the next 2 years. So they recognize we need to do something for the teachers and have the best we can and match up against everybody in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Mr. Wineland? Dr. Wineland.
Hi, Rick Wineland. I think I know most everybody up there. I am here today to express my support for the 55 cents. I think it's critical. My vision for the future is pretty much based on my vision of what happened and what was going on in the past. We've been here as citizens for approximately 40 years. And when I came here as a doctor in 1980, if somebody had a medical problem, if they got seen, if the rescue squad was available, they got seen. I was telling my wife on the way up here, I had a woman call me up and said that her husband bled to death after she waited an hour and 45 minutes for a rescue squad. We don't have that now. Why? Because you guys or your forebears had increased our spending for public services, and we expect things as the public to be a certain way, and that takes money. My kids, all four of my kids went to the high school here, and I just canvassed them about it. Now, that was about 20 years ago. I said, what did you think about your school experience, your school building experience? Because I told them about the new school. And these are quotes. I won't tell you which kids said which, but they said, our school was noisy, dark, depressing, and run down. And how does that not hurt a kid's education? What you guys are doing now with the school building will, not even taking into account the teachers, but will help benefit them. And yes, I think the teachers ought to be paid. Pay them 3%, 5%. We need good teachers. These kids are our future, and I think we need to treat them as such. So I'm all for the increase. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wineland. Mrs. Wineland? Is Betsy Wineland?
A lot has already been said, so I just want to express my support for the tax increase.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Mr. Mike Bradford?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Mike Bradford, resident here of Lancaster County. Relatively short-term compared to most of the people. I'm really just going to echo what most of the other guys said. Just be conservative in your approach. You guys have a tough job. I grant you that, and glad I'm not in your seats. But just be conservative when you make that decision. And if the rate is fair at 50% or less, please please consider that, because since I've been here in my short 5 years, my taxes, my property taxes have gone up 50% in that time frame. So if you guys can swing it, again, you've got a lot on your plate, and Lancaster County is, I think, overall behind in a lot of aspects, and I think you're making some strides. But if you can do it as cost effectively as possible, we citizens would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak that haven't already spoken? Anyone online?
No, sir.
All right. At this particular time, the floor is now closed to input for taxes. All right, gentlemen, y'all want to have comments? Let me add this first. Mr. Gill, do you know what the tax rates or proposed tax rates for our surrounding counties?
Northumberland is currently at 61. They are proposing 69. Richmond County just went through a reassessment, as Lancaster did. Their current rate is 70 cents. Their equalized rate was 54 cents. They've advertised 60 cents. Westmoreland is currently at 62. I'm not exactly sure what their advertised rate is, and I'm not sure about Middlesex.
All right,
But
thank you.
Don, where are we at? You said the Board of Equalizations have made some fluctuations, and I know you shared that spreadsheet when you did the numbers with the tax rates and the budget. Where are we at now with the 55-cent tax rate versus the budget deficit?
It's still, the equalized rate is still 45 cents. It's,
No, at the 55-cent rate, what is our overall budget deficit that we were going to have to make up through our fund balancer?
it's $2,731,272 would be the difference between the ending fund balances from FY24 and FY25 at the 55-cent
So
rate.
about a $2.5 million deficit?
2.7. Yeah, I mean, you'll be eating into the fund balance by $2.7 million.
So it's effectively a $2.5 million deficit in the budget?
Yeah.
Because it's not coming out
2.7.
of revenue, it's coming out of reserves.
Correct.
or savings.
Correct.
And you said it's about 300,000 per penny?
It is currently $381,888 per penny.
Which is about 10 cents or so to cover that deficit?
Yeah, well, about nine point something.
Yeah, rounded off to 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
One thing I can say, it's a lot of people that gotten up and spoken that hasn't, just moved here. And they moved here because of the beauty of the county, but because of low taxes too. I was born here and been here, moved away, came back here. And I own several different pieces of property and homes in Lancaster, so my taxes going up too. But we do have a lot of things on the plate, and as this gentleman just spoke, we are behind in some of them, and we got behind. Well, I know how we got behind, because I've been on the board for a while. And now we playing catch up. And it takes funds. It takes funds, and this is a way of getting part of it done. We got a lot of things coming up. So I'm in favor of the 55 cent that we advertise.
Anyone else before we vote? I'm still, y'all heard me the last time. I think about the people at the bottom. We have made some adjustments for certain ones there at certain age and disabilities and so on for that. So, all right, let's do the vote. Somebody want to put the motion on the floor?
I move that we adopt the 55 cents tax rate.
All right, you've heard the motion to adopt the 55%, 55 cents tax rates.
Mr. Chairman, do we have to,
Yeah,
do all our- yeah.
55 cent is the real estate portion of the ordinance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just, if that's your recommendation, just say to adopt the ordinance as advertised.
As advertised. Okay.
That's what I said.
Okay. All right. You've heard the motion to adopt the ordinance as advertised. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
All right. 3 ayes, 2 nays. It passes. Okay. All right. Consensus docket.
Thank you, Jason.
What about Mr. Palin?
I couldn't see your name, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm just kidding with you. I'm just kidding. All right.
I move for approval of the consensus docket.
All right, you heard that motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Consensus docket is passed unanimously. All right, consideration docket.
Salaries and invoices. I will make the motion to approve the May invoices in the amount of $1,572,388.17, of which total payroll was $434,369.22, for a total of $2,006,757.39, of which capital improvements were $981,266.53, and ARPA funding of $75.58.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously passed. All right. Resolution of adoptions of a fiscal year 25 calendar county general funds and capital improvement budget. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, Code of Virginia, Section 15.2.2506 requires budget action. You held your required public hearing on this proposed budget on April 25th. You have waited more than the required 7 days before considering action on the proposed budget. You must adopt a budget by July the 1st. You've held 6 prior budget work sessions. You've adopted now a tax rate to support the revenue side of this. This budget of adoption deals with the expenditure side. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. If not, I would ask that you adopt this resolution of adoption of the budget.
All right. I move that we adopt the resolution for the proposed fiscal year 25 county general fund and capital improvement budget. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. It passed.
I'm sorry, what was this for? Just the capital improvement budget? or-
No, it's the adoption of the FY25 budget, including the capital improvement budget.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so, but aye.
I've noted no, I'm voting no.
No, no. Okay. So that's 4 ayes and 1 no. Motion passed. All right. Okay, Mr. Gill?
Your next resolution is a resolution of appropriation for the adopted budget that you just adopted. There are some provisions in this resolution of appropriation, some safeguards in the event that estimated revenues are not realized. I've given you some examples. Paragraph 2 says that if the revenues aren't realized, appropriations can be payable in a proportion to the sum of the realized revenue. And in paragraph 5, it authorizes the county administrator to establish purchasing policies and procedures to assure that expenditures are made within the appropriations in the resolution. Again, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. If not, I would ask that you adopt this resolution of appropriation.
All right, no questions? All right, I move that we adopt the resolution of appropriation for the proposed fiscal year 25 county's budget. You've heard that motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, all against, nay? Nay. Four against, 1 against, 4 for, 1 against. Motion passed, all right? All right, resolution of appropriations.
No, we just did that.
We just did. Yeah, that's right. All right. Didn't check it off.
Yeah.
Memorandum of Understanding, Mr. Gill.
Mr. Chairman, Northumberland County does not have a Building Code Board of Appeals. You may remember that back in 2019, Richmond County came to us with a similar proposal. They also did not have a Building Code Board of Appeals at that time. And they had an appeal of a decision that their building official made. And state code provides that if your county does not have a Building Code Board of Appeals, you can use a neighboring county's Building Code Board of Appeals. So back in 2019, when Richmond County asked us for this, this MOU was drawn up. Sands Anderson Law Firm drew it up. County Attorney Jim Cornwell reviewed it. And you all passed it. The board in 2019 passed it. Richmond County's appeal got withdrawn before it came before the Building Code Board of Appeals, so it never happened. But Northumberland County right now finds themselves in the same situation. They have an appeal pending of a decision that their building official has made. They do not have a Building Code Board of Appeals seated, and they have asked to use the Lancaster County Building Code Board of Appeals. So we've revised the MOU to replace Richmond with Northumberland. You know, all expenses that are incurred from the use of our Building Code Board of Appeals will be reimbursed by Northumberland County. Again, I'll answer any questions that you may have. If not, I would ask that you approve this MOU with Northumberland.
I would just make a comment. I would just like to say that at a 55-cent tax rate, we do have a Building Code of Appeals, and we have that fully appointed.
Yep. All right.
Duly noted.
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between Lancaster and Northumberland County. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. That's unanimous vote. Motion passed. All right, Mr. Gill, change of orders.
Mr. Chairman, I hope everyone took notice of mainly the cupola on top of this building when they came here tonight. It was in pretty bad shape. It was part of a contract that this board awarded back, I think it was in September of '23, to repair the roof, fix two flat roofs that had been leaking for quite some time, and repair damaged slate and paint the cupola. You all approved that contract back in I think September of '23. And as Mr. Kaiser stated earlier, there's always change orders involved with any work that you do. We had two change orders. The first change order dealt with the valleys that are on the roof, and it turns out that only the valleys that were located in the transition area between the flat roofs and the slate roofs were included in that original contract. When Vertex Roofing moved in on May the 7th, I actually went on the roof with them to get a game plan in place, and they noticed that all of the valleys, the copper in all of the valleys were in need of replacing. Even one, the foreman, Tommy Wilson, told me that he could see daylight through that valley as he was walking along the slate. So, you know, that needed to be done. The second change order dealt with the dormer that was on the rear-facing part of the roof of the old jail. You all have seen that dormer when you come in, the copper roof on that. You know, every time we had a rainstorm or wind, it would blow that copper roof up. And it really served no purpose. Building official Brett Dawson said that it wasn't needed for ventilation, that there was plenty of ventilation there. So Vertex Roofing suggested that that face of the roof be removed, take the dormer off, and replace it with new slate there. And they could salvage the old slate, the Buckingham slate, to repair all the slate over the entire rest of the roof that was damaged. They picked that face of the roof not only because of the dormer, but also because it is rear-facing and it's perpendicular to most of the other roof area of the courthouse. And even though it's not Buckingham slate, it's the closest match that they could get. And, you know, it would take a very trained eye and some very hard analysis to tell the difference between the two. The third part of that first change order was the hips and ridges where the slate came together. And I had pictures in the packet. It showed that where it came together, there was no ridge cap as you would see on roofs today. It was just a bead of caulk, I guess it was asphalt caulk or whatever, along every hip and ridge area. So Vertex said that what they've done on historic buildings in the past and what they recommend is to place copper ridge caps, hip and ridge caps, along every hip and ridge on the roof to make that area rainproof, and so that's another part of that change order number one. Change order number two, we had a fixed dollar amount in the contract for replacing underlayment. We didn't know until they started, tearing the flat roofs off how much they would have to replace. They ended up having to replace 15 sheets of plywood, 12 on the flat roof over the Treasurer and Commissioner's office, and 3 over the flat roof that's over my office. So that was an additional expense. As I mentioned, the cupola painting was a part of the contract, but as soon as they finished painting the cupola, I was outside looking, and I noticed that the gable front was chipping with paint, just like the cupola was. And so, no better time to get that painted than when the crew and the equipment was here. So those change orders, the total for both change orders was $49,500. In order to keep the work progressing, as I've stated before, change orders have to be considered quickly to keep them from having to leave and remobilize. It took a long time for them to get here. But I will say, when they got here and went to work, I've been very impressed with them. They actually finished today, this morning. They're going to come back tomorrow. They have to repair some areas out front where the lift had made some ruts in the front yard. So they're going to dump topsoil on that and plant that area in the morning. So the purpose of this consideration item is just hopefully to get you all to ratify the change orders that I approved on the fly for this project.
I can say how nice it looks. Good job. And I fully appreciate that you took into account, and they took into account the historic building, put the copper hips, because your predecessor, when they replaced the gutters, went with a generic, non-historic version.
No.
And it really shows the difference now that you can see how nice the new roof is versus in the copper. And those, so it may be time in the next time to look to put the copper gutters back properly.
Agreed. Yeah. Mr. Gill took me up there and gave me a little tour of the roof, so it looks great. And the job looks like but done very, 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 very well.
Yeah,
and I like what I saw.
I was very impressed with them. They
did a great job on that small repair.
They really did.
Tell that was like broken.
Yeah, they really did.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept this change orders.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's a unanimous vote. Motion passed. Okay. Mr. Gill, holiday leave.
Mr. Chairman, the last consideration item, as you know, the county follows the state-approved holiday schedule, but frequently the circuit court adds a few days of holidays to their schedule. What happens then is it results in a situation where county offices are open, but courts are closed, and I get questioned all the time by county staff, if the courts are closed, why are we open? Why can't we be closed as well? I know this was really relevant last December, the day after Christmas. They were closed and county offices were open. I know that several of you got phone calls as well because you called me asking me why county offices were open. Several of you expressed an interest at that point to match the circuit court's holiday schedule. So what I've done here is I've included the order that Circuit Judge McKinney signed, and it has 3 additional holidays over and above the state-approved holiday schedule. Those 3 days are the Friday after July the 4th, which is July the 5th, the day after Christmas, Thursday, December 26th, and New Year's Eve, Tuesday, December 31st. So I would ask that the board consider adding, 1, 2, or all 3 of these dates to our current holiday schedule.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we add all of those to the holiday schedule.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. All right. Board reports. First, I want to start off with some appointments. Excuse me. Mr. Bruce Julian is on the Wetlands Board, and Mr. Hunter Slid is also on the Wetlands Board. Mr. Slid is serving as an alternate member, and Mr. Bruce Julian is serving as a full-time member, the regular member. He would like to change with Mr. Sled and be an alternate and let Mr. Sled be there full-time. So at this particular time, I'm going to reappoint Mr. Bruce Julian as an alternate member and Hunter Sled as a full-time member. All right? All those in favor of that, say aye. Aye. All right? Pass unanimously, all right? The next one is Mr. Thomas Brent for the Planning Commission. All right, I reappoint him to the Planning Commission. All in favor of that, say aye. Aye. All right, that's unanimous vote, passed, okay? All right, any other board reports? All right, no board reports. County Administrator report.
Mr. Chairman, I got quite a few tonight. The first thing I want to say is the board back at its March meeting, I believe, wanted the short-term rental amendments to come as a public hearing at the May meeting. But as you know, there was some General Assembly changes to the definition of short-term rental hosted. And so as a result, we're going to end up having to amend Article 1, which is definitions based on that fact, and Article 29 for those revisions that the General Assembly has passed. And seeing these are parts of our zoning ordinance, and zoning ordinance amendments have to go through the Planning Commission before they come to the board. Mr. Cornwell agreed that those amendments should go back to the Planning Commission before they come to the board. So it'll be at the Planning Commission public hearing on June 20th for those two amendments, and then you all will get those revised ordinance amendments at your July meeting. So that's why.
And you'll also get the amendments for which districts?
Yes. Yeah, which districts, yeah. So that's.
We get it all in one package.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why it wasn't on the May agenda. I talked a little bit about the Board of Equalization earlier. As I said, they've held 9 meetings so far. They've issued 133 orders through 6 meetings. We're still waiting on the last 3 meetings orders. They do have one more meeting scheduled, but as I said, they're seated through the end of the year. Of those 133 orders through 6 of the 9 meetings they've held, they've had 114 decreases, 4 increases, and 15 no changes. And the net result of their orders has been a decrease in the total taxable value of $7,867,500. The third thing is the Tryway Trail, as you know, received a large grant earlier this year. On June 24th at 11:30, Senator Warner is going to be here to address that issue. And the Tryway Trail folks, of which John Bateman is now on their board of directors, has asked that a Board of Supervisors member be there to speak at that event on June 24th, beginning at 11:30. So what I'm asking now is which one of you would do that? No, it could be the chairman, it could be the District 4 representative of where the Tryway Trail is, but 2 things. Number 1, put June 24th at 11:30 on your calendars, and then if you know right now which one of you would like to speak, let me know. If not, John, do we have a deadline on when we have to know that?
No.
Bill's not looking at us.
Bill, you'd like to do that?
I'm looking at the calendar now.
Okay.
You said 11:30?
11:30 on June 24th.
I'll be there to hear Mr. Palin speak, I guess.
If more than 3 of us show up there, is that considered a meeting?
As long as you don't participate, isn't that correct?
Right.
Yeah.
They've changed the rules somewhat.
Yeah. So, do you have any idea?
It's sort of the dedication, right?
Yeah, I think, is it a ribbon cutting?
Ribbon cutting.
Ribbon cutting, yeah.
Is there parking?
It's going to be at the entrance at Compass, so yes, there will be parking.
Yeah. Do you have
It's
any?
going to be held at Compass, basically? You said the event's going to be held basically at Compass?
It's going to be held at the entrance at Compass, but where exactly, I'm not sure. I'm sure that has to be planned out.
You guys want to do the zip line afterwards?
Do you have any idea who they could list as the board speaker at this point?
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee?
It'll be all right.
You'd be all right? All right. John, is that everything you need to know for that?
That's all I needed to know.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the Windmill Point renovation or shoreline stabilization project and everything that's going on there. You know, last month, we had one of the easements recorded, and we had all the documentation for the second easement, but it had not been recorded. All of that has been taken care of. We had a few minor issues to be worked out between the county attorney and the contractor's attorney. That's been worked out. Contract's been signed. Materials have been ordered. Docks of the Bay is going to let us know when they start mobilizing equipment there, and we will schedule a groundbreaking there for a nice photo opportunity, and Bruce Julian is going to kind of be managing that. What I'd like to know from you is, are there any weeks in June and July that we should avoid?
You will be required to wade in. Really, sand right.
In July, yes.
Okay.
Will that groundbreaking be published in the paper too?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I will be away from July 10th through the 15th for the NACO annual conference, so I will not be able to be at an event during that time.
Any other weeks that we should avoid?
We're going to be away the 15th through the 22nd.
Of July, okay.
Hopefully, they're going to get it mobilized before then and start before the 4th of July.
Yeah, in the contract, it said it would take 60 days to get the materials, but realistically, they said they would have them probably within 30. So, and they've been ordered for a little while now, so.
And that's for like the pier and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, and.
A lot of the rock and stuff is already.
Yeah, but it's a lot more rock, but yeah, it's the materials for the pier, and so yeah, so that's where that stands. Next item is the county is going to have 2 summer interns for the next 2 months. These are high school kids. This is John's project, and I'm going to let him fill you in on that.
Thank you. In an effort to provide career pathways to our youth residents, Lancaster County Public Schools is piloting a career and technical education high-quality work-based learning program. The program was developed with guidance from the Department of Education and the Department of Labor. Lancaster County and the town of Kilmarnock are participating in this pilot program. Lancaster County will be hiring 2 interns for the summer. A training plan was created for each with the purpose of assisting each in transitioning from student to employee. Our 2 candidates are Ashton Molyneux and Kayshawn Davis. They're both juniors at Lancaster High School with a career interest in public service. Both of their parents are employees with Lancaster County Public Schools. Their experience here will be multifaceted and intentional. They will gain a knowledge of how their local government administration operates by shadowing employees in each department and gaining a cursory understanding of the functions of each of those departments. They will gain valuable work experience, professional references, and continuing career and technical education credits. We will gain the insights of youth in training and much needed help in accomplishing important tasks in county administration, primarily focused on documents and data management.
So kind of doing the grow your own thing, you know, like we've talked about in the 2035 meetings. So it's,
You'll learn a lot from Ashton.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said you're going to learn a lot from Ashton.
And the goal here is for the county to set an example for the other businesses and employers in the county to involve themselves in such programs as well, so that we can provide a wealth of experiences in the job place for our students so they can make a decision on career pathways.
Thank you for getting that off the ground. I think it's really important, and it's a good opportunity also to engage our youth in local government or in government in general and civics.
Yep.
So it's a positive thing.
Good job.
We got a lot of projects that we can get them to do.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff for us on.
And they'll also be involved or see the need for EMS and law enforcement as well. So,
Without a doubt.
yeah. Yeah. The last thing I want to say, and this came late this afternoon, former District 1 Supervisor Jack Larson left me a message earlier today and wanted to compliment our convenience center folks at the Nutsville site and the Regina site. He said it looks better than it ever has. It's maintained well. He was very appreciative of that. And he also had similar comments about the Greenville Creek boat ramp and pier and the addition of the life vest station that the Power and Sail Squadron put in last month. And
Make sure he
so-
doesn't go to the one on Irvington Road.
And he said nothing about the budget, but he did ask that I pass that along to the board. So,
All right. That's it? Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Kemp,
we
okay.
will need a closed session.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
Litigation as well as
All right.
acquisition of real estate.
yeah.
You ready for that?
You finished?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep.
I move that the Board of Supervisors enter into a closed meeting for acquisition and disposition of real property per section 2.23711A3 of the Code of Virginia as amended, legal matters per section 2.23711A of the Code of Virginia as amended, and personnel per section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. We are now in closed session. Call this meeting back to order. I move that the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors adopt the following certification resolution. Whereas the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors convened in a closed meeting on May 30th, 2024, pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote on the motion to close the meeting to discuss personal legal matters and acquisition disposition of real property in accordance with section paragraph 2.2-3711A, .1.2.2-3711A, paragraph .8, and 2.2-3711A.3 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas section paragraph 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that, through the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meetings requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act was heard, discussed, or considered in a closed meeting to which this certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. Before a vote is taken on this resolution, is there any member who believes that there was a departure from the requirements of number 1 and number 2 above? If so, identify yourself and state the substance of the matter and why, in your judgment, it was a departure. Hearing no statement, I call the question. Mr. Palin, I certify. Mr. Bellows.
I certify.
Mr. Lee.
I certify.
Mr. Geezy.
I certify.
Mr. Smith.
I certify.
The certification resolution is adopted. Gentlemen, I entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
All right, you all heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn. Motion passed.